And we're here live for another edition of The Locker Room. Today we have a special treat for you guys, Meta World Peace Style, as we discuss punishment in sports. Well, we have our very own and my other co-hosts here. With me I have Matt Hirsch, a bona fide sports expert, very knowledgeable across the board. Can pretty much tell you a little bit about everything. Also, I have here to my right, Cal Anderson. All you know him from the 98 Homewood Championship team. Very knowledgeable guy when it comes to sports. And Cal, let's just be honest here, he's a very big guy as well. And you have your very own, yours truly, Reggie Huffman, former UAB Blazer and a pro European League player. We have a great treat for you guys tonight. Unfortunately, Brandon Jones, he's out of town on vacation.
It is kind of a treat, isn't it?
It is.
Well deserved for him and for us, I think.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoy your vacation, Brandon. To all of the locker room world out here. Well, we're going to get right into it tonight. Like I told you, the topic is punishment in pro sports. Very interesting topic. It's a lot of interesting things going on in the world of sports right now. We just had a Meta World Peace run our test issue. There's also in the NFL, there's some very controversial issues with the New Orleans Saints and the Sean Payton deal. There's just a lot of different, different things that we're going to touch on here tonight. So we hope you all enjoy it. I'm going to turn to Matt here and kind of get his take on it. Just tell me, Matt, do you think the penalties in professional sports, to be frank, are they too soft?
I don't know if they're necessarily too soft. I'm just not necessarily sure that they're working. Are we really penalizing players the correct way? I think that's the big deal. And is it really doing what that it needs to do to prevent some of these outlandish and terrible actions in the future? I'm not necessarily sure that the penalties are too soft. I just think that they're not working.
Right, and that is an interesting point you bring up because, in professional sports, there's a fine line, especially when you have, high-profile athletes on a platform and, the TV ratings, a lot of money involved, a lot of, glitz and glam with the television networks. It is interesting. Cal, I'd love to get your opinion on this. What's your opinion on penalties in pro sports? Do you think they're too soft, or where are your thoughts on that?
I think you guys have hit the nail on the head. I think it is soft in some areas. I think sometimes maybe they don't go far enough. Good example, you can look at people like Adama Kasu. So many times he's gotten in trouble. So many times he's done something bad. And then the worst he's gotten is a 2-game suspension with not getting paid. Well, it doesn't look like it's kind of dampered anything. He's still doing it. I think the good thing about it, probably more than anything else, is if you look at like our Facebook page, David Croswell Jr. brought it up perfectly. He says this depends on the severity of the foul. Should they really be banned or should they really be suspended? But you have to be real careful because you don't know if there's the intent or not. But the point David makes is a very good one is, if they were doing this on the street, they'd be in jail for assault. And then Marcus Darby also made a good point. He thinks on the football field, yeah, you should. But on the basketball court, no. Well, Reggie, you're a basketball player. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, that's an interesting point, Cal. I kind of feel, it seems that the punishment comes, adjustable to the sport. With basketball, we just saw a very, grotesque incident with Ron Artest. He basically, throws an elbow into the head of Harden for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he gets 7 games. He got 7-game suspension. This is a guy who has a history of violence. He's, we definitely, back in 2004, we all remember that when Artest, then he was with the Pacers. We had the big deal with Detroit where they're basically out in the stands, swinging on fans. This is a very interesting point.
The malice at the palace.
It's crazy, Matt. What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, and kind of going back to the penalties, I think that's where the thought goes into, does the money matter? Does the suspensions matter? If one of these guys gets fined, is it really that big a deal? If a suspension happens, their name's still in the limelight, so they're getting what they really want. They're having their ego massaged, I guess. I know that sounds terrible, but, it's like, what if Donald Trump went out to the street and elbowed a guy in the ear? He could pay the fine. Is that really a big deal to him? Talk about Donald Trump. That's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket to these guys. Is it really accomplishing what it's meant to accomplish to prevent it? If anything, does it even endorse it?
Right.
Endorse the bad boy image. Everybody loves the bad boy, or at least to talk about the bad boy, especially the media.
Right. That's a great point. It kind of comes down to, I kind of feel like sometimes the league, especially David Stern, I'll be honest with you, I'm just not too high on this guy. It's some things just seem like formalities. I think some of these penalties maybe should be looked at a little bit differently. I mean, especially guys who have a history, of these things reoccurring time and time again. And you just have to ask yourself, how far do we go? How much we, are willing to take here? I mean, what's your spin on that, Kyle?
I agree, and I think you guys have probably done a very good job of saying, look, the rules definitely probably don't go far enough as far as punishing. And like Matt said, money is a big thing. I mean, people say money talks. The way you're going to punish these players is by saying, I'm going to punish you because it is a privilege to play in professional sports. It's not a right. And if you're going to play in our sport, you're going to do it the right way. And if you're not going to listen to me, and if sitting you down for a game is not going to do it, I'll sit you down for 7 games. And I'll sit you down for 7 games where you don't get paid. Because if you want to be here, you're going to do it the right way.
But their name's still out there. Like I said, I think that's the big thing. That so they get to sit down and take a break. So what? So they have to pay a little bit. So what? They're getting to take a break. They're still in the limelight. They're still popular. ESPN's still talking about them. Yahoo Sports is still talking about them. We're still talking about them. I think that we're, just totally adding fuel to the fire right here. Even we're still talking about Ron Artest. And it, for our listeners out there, it just happened within the past week or two.
I agree. My whole concept on this is actions speak louder than words. And, as I sit here and look over the years, the history of some of this stuff, what's the name? Adamika Sue, fined $42,000. That's a spit in the bucket, a drop in the bucket for this guy. This guy makes millions of dollars, and he's basically, you got the health of another professional player at stake here, and you're only finding $42,000. Look at Albert Hainsworth back in 2006. This guy was fined only $190,000. This guy as well, very big time contract player. $190,000 pretty much. What is that? What message is that sending to the players?
Guys, how far do y'all think punishment should go? Some people say, well, Ron Artest should be kicked out of the NBA. Some people say that, Ndamukong Suh last year should have been suspended from the NFL. How far should they go, and then how far is too far?
Well, I mean, that's a great point as well, Mike. You have some viewers, Matthew, Pilato, he thinks 10 games is, for the Ron Artest situation. He thinks that'll do it, You have other people like Brent Davenport. He say straight up, hey, kick him out of the league. He has a lot of issues. He just, cut and dry with it, where, you have other people who have a little bit more, conservative view on it. Personally, I kind of agree with Brent. I think his actions have definitely told the story for, for Mr. Meta World Peace. And let's just be honest, there's nothing peaceful about this guy. Let's get him out of here and get him out of here fast. What's your take on it, Kyle?
I agree, and I think our fans are making a good point, because it seems to be the consensus is, we all know Ron Artest got 7 games. Brent Williams makes a good point, 10 games minimum. He could have really hurt someone. Reggie, you made a point the other day about, if he had not gotten off the floor, if we had not seen that situation where all of a sudden James Harden doesn't get off that floor, he gets carted off and he's in a coma, are we talking 7 games? Or are we talking you're done, it's over? I think honestly, and Matt, you've made this point numerous times, I think the punishment has to fit the crime. You can't have it where, I nudged somebody going in for a layup. All right, that's it, you're banned, you're out of here. But there are a lot of people that feel like with Ron Artest, it's, and Robert McDavid made a great point. How many second chances does this guy get? This is not his first offense.
It's really sad for Ron Artest's situation, because I'm not sure how much intent was in this one. It in some, if you look at it, couple of times, it looks like it might have been an accident. He was celebrating, guy got in the way and kind of pushed him and shoved him, elbowed him with his elbow to get him out of the way. But because Artest, Meta World Peace, whatever the crap you want to call him,
I think he should be suspended just for the name.
That's not the first time I've heard that. But because he has the history that he has, does this tack on to it? And it's a shame that we look at it that way, but it's the nature of the beast. That's the way it is, because he's a professional athlete. You have to look at his overall career.
Yeah, and for our fans out there, just to kind of tune you in on what we're referring to, what Cal and Matt's touching on is basically referring to the Los Angeles Lakers game this past Sunday. We were playing Oklahoma City Thunder, and Ron Artest went down the court and he was celebrating after a dunk, and then there was a very unnatural motion that he made to the skull of James Harden, which sent him to the floor, and it was confirmed a few days ago that this was a concussion. And we've kind of transitioned into our next question that we kind of have for you guys out there, which is should tougher fines and even banishment from sports be considered? And I think this is a very interesting point to bring out, because you have to ask yourself, are these penalties are they stiff enough? Is this really hurting the pockets of some of these players? I mean, really?
Well, it's interesting to talk about banishment from sports, even currently, because even in a professional situation, coaches are professionals. Even college coaches are considered professionals. And recent actions done by Bobby Petrino, he was fired. He was let go. So what's to say another professional athlete who's being paid millions of dollars, is at the top of their game, shouldn't be held to similar standards?
And I think that's really the question that's coming up from a lot of people is, well, these are professional athletes. We pay them a lot of money. It's not like a college player where, the money's not getting paid and you're supposed to, there's still that level of innocence where you're in college, you should know better. But when you get to the pros, it's almost like, well, I'm paying you hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't really matter. But I agree with what Reggie said, and I agree with Matt with what you said, is you really have to weigh, because you really do want to do the right thing. But you also, in the same breath, don't want to destroy a guy's career because, okay, yes, his temper got the best of him. He shoved somebody or he hurt someone. But I think you do need to say, look, I understand you had a moment, but you cannot do this. This cannot be acceptable.
That kind of goes to the question, how far is too far? How far is too far for the punishment? You're afraid that you're going to blacklist a guy. I think that we don't want to go back to Hollywood back in the time of communism. You don't want to blacklist somebody. You don't want teams to go, this guy is a head case. He's not worth investing in, because that's something that can really follow a person, and that can hurt them in the long run. That can hurt their livelihood. Even they're making millions of dollars. How many players are losing or just not even able to support themselves, like Warren Sapp here recently?
Right, and I totally agree with you, Matt. It sounds like we really have an even consensus here. Tougher fines maybe should really seriously be considered in sports. Maybe not, complete banishment, but definitely, if anything, just for a start, let's have some tougher fines out here. And we'll love to get you guys, our fans, response to this as well on Facebook at the Locker Room. Also, like I said, we have a lot in store for you guys this evening. We want to mention the Birmingham Sabres. They have this is a semi-pro team here locally. Their first game is on May 5th at 7:30 p.m. We would love for you all to come out and support these guys. They're playing the Tennessee Swish, and this is at Briarwood Christian High School, 6255 Cahabi Valley Road. This is the Birmingham Sabres, and this is on May 5th at 7:30. So we hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. We have a lot more in store for you guys, and stay tuned.
Yeah, it's great local basketball. Come on out, guys.